Good day, traders. Welcome to your weekly overview. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do a little more in-depth analysis of each of the pairs that I look at and show you why and how I do certain things. So, to start out with, to let you know, I have multiple trade accounts, and the majority, I'd say probably 90% of my major trades are done on swing trading, which are done on weekly, daily, and some 4-hour charts. The other 10% of my trades are done intraday when I'm sitting down just watching the market, but just to do some busy work, but it's not the majority of things of trades that I make. So today I'm going to show you how I look at my higher time frames to set up, let the market set up to give me those swing trades, and that's how I ride those waves. So when I'm analyzing a pair or a currency index, metal, or anything, there's two things I look at. First off, I'm looking for the pattern. There are several patterns that are available that were taught to me and that I teach that we look for in order to see when the market is going to swing in a different direction. That's number one, is the pattern. But the pattern is the most important thing. If you don't learn how to do anything, seeing the patterns and drawing the patterns and identifying the reversal areas is the most important thing that we teach. Secondly is our indicators. Indicators are lagging, so they are only used for confirmation of what our patterns can show us. So here, starting with the dollar index on a daily time frame. So as we can see here, off the last big move here, bearish move, there's a pattern. So if I draw this pattern out for you, there you can see that larger pattern, and within there is another smaller pattern. Another thing that I do is I use different colors. As you can see, sometimes you'll see a blue trend line, a green, orange, and a yellow, and I also use a magenta. These help me to identify the importance of that pattern or that point. So if a price is reaching a conjunction of a green, a blue, or orange, or touching a blue trend line, I know that is a higher priority reversal point than, say, here. So this area is a lower area of reversal than this area. This area I would be looking for a longer term move. So if I go to the, say, the 1 week chart, how I have it currently blown out, see, here's my top blue trend line and here's the bottom. So when I get a reversal from this area, I'm looking for a move to go from this line down to this line. So that's the reason for the different colors I have, just in case you didn't know. Okay, so back to our daily. Currently, the dollar index is in a descending channel with a green trend line here that it's approaching, which to me allows me to believe that it could come into this area, this lower area here, your 94.47, and possibly reverse at that point. But if it gets that low, we will check and see if it will continue down. But this pattern breaks bullish. So if it continues along the normal movement of this descending channel, it should break bullish at some point. And that's where we look for entries. You could look at for entries on maybe a swing time frame like I do, maybe on a weekly, a daily, a 4-hour, or you can go to a lower time frame, work on your 4-hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, whatever. But currently we're looking for price to either test this green trend line or start to bounce currently. Now we look at our indicators. Our indicators are showing us that we have divergence on the MACD, which tells me that eventually this price is going to move up. I don't know exactly when, but we have indications that price is in a divergent state so far. Also, we're in the 20s here on the RSI, and so price should start moving back up. Let's look at a lower time frame. And I also put the period markers here, the daily markers, so you can see what the price does within a day. Because sometimes you can see different trends, and it help you draw some of your trend lines sometimes. So here's a smaller pattern we see that has broken down, but it's still within the range of this orange trend line. Once again, we have divergence, and the price is under 20 here on the RSI. So we'll be looking this week to see if we get a bounce or a continuation pattern and more down. So this is for our dollar index. Next, we'll look at crude oil. So as we can see, crude oil is just completing or moving out of a flag, which right now indicates that it is bullish. So until we break this low, it's still bullish in my book. And here's our current high. So we're looking for a reaction when it gets into this area. Price is coming back again to our 80 in the RSI. And we're looking for some type of reaction when it gets to this high of the 47.30. On the 4-hour time frame, there's no direct setup now for sell. But like I said, we'll be looking once price gets into this area for a sell, a bounce from this area, and possibly a move back down to retest this low or the recent low that is created over the last week. Next, we have gold. And gold is looks like it was going to go down and test that low, but it reversed and broke this descending channel. It didn't break it very strong, so it could continue back and extend the pattern and continue bearish, but we'll see as the week goes. If it continues to push up, gives us a continuation pattern, and then we'll be looking for another retest of this high. On the 4-hour, once again we can see a pattern here. Here's a bullish flag that was broken in the same token as the descending channel was broken. Price pushed up aggressively, and it's now looking like it's going to make some type of continuation pattern as we suggested already, and to look for another move bullish. Euro USD daily chart, as you can see, it's approaching a higher time frame reversal point, and if it goes along in conjunction with the dollar index, we'll be looking for a bounce and price to fall from this area. Once again, make sure you have a confirmed bounce or break. For my system, a confirmed bounce means you have a trade trigger. If you don't have a trade trigger, you really need to stop trading because you're gambling. You need to have a trade trigger that tells you when to enter the market. So on the daily, this is what we have. We have a pattern that is already showing divergence on our MACD. So MACD is pushing down, RSI is pushing down. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Okay, 4-hour chart. Once again, if we We can connect the pattern. That's not really necessary because we have the upper trend line to guide us. This blue trend line. Usually I draw the blue trend line on the monthly, the larger pattern. So on the monthly chart. So if we did draw the pattern, it will look like this. Okay, so we were looking for a retest of this high this week and then a move down, a bearish bounce and continuation down into lower prices. And first we'll look for a retest of this low and then we'll go from there. Okay, most of your dollar pairs are going to exhibit the same thing. They're coming close to a reversal point. We had a nice move from the pound dollar and broke out of this flag, this daily flag, broke this top. Now we're going to see what it does when it gets into this area. And we'll look for bearish action in this area to short this pair back down to first this low here, and then we'll look for the previous low. Let's go down to the 4-hour. Okay, our 4-hour, we see that we're way above 80 on the RSI. Got divergence on our MACD, so it's just a matter of time now. So once again, look for your confirmed entry trigger before you trade. If anybody, including myself, puts out a trade entry or trade signal, whatever you want to call it, don't just enter trade blindly. Even if I put that this trade was going to be a long, I would not enter until I find a confirmed trigger for the bounce. I'll show you one right now that I can look at. Here is a pin bar. That will be a pin bar entry. That will be a trigger for me to go long on this pair. We have about 8 of them in our system, so you have to have at least one to trade. So as I said, right now look for a bearish entry in this area of the pound dollar. On to the dollar CAD. CAD's been dropping along with the prices of oil rising. We have a low that's been established since middle of last year, almost past a year now, and we're looking for a price to drop below that. The current high that we have is right here at 130, and price is not looking like it's turning around at this point. MACD is still pushing down. RSI is below 20, but it can push back up and then just fall right back again. It's not looking like it's going to come all the way back to the top. It looks like it's going to make a short move up and then another move down, just pulsating down, down, down until we finally get that bearish fall that everyone has been waiting for in the dollar CAD. Let's look at it on the lower time frame. Okay, on our 4-hour, we see these nice bearish impulses. Beautiful, beautiful. And as you can see, once again, every time you get an impulse, you'll get a new pattern. So you get impulse, pattern, impulse, pattern, impulse. So what should we be expecting next? Exactly. We're looking for another pattern, another continuation pattern to form, or a reversal pattern to form to give us that indication that another impulse is going to come. This is how we catch the impulse. We trade the patterns to catch the impulse. If you don't know how to identify the pattern, you'll never catch the impulse. And as you can see on the 4-hour, we are getting a little divergence, but it is not as visible as we would think. So it should or could push down some more. So let's see what we get this week. If we start to get that pullback, we could get a continuation pattern and more down. If price continues to move correctively down and forms a reversal pattern, something like this, a descending channel or something, then we'll be waiting for that price to bounce and move back bullish. But we have to see when the price gives us the pattern, and we trade the pattern. So I pushed too many buttons at one time. Okay, next we have dollar yen. Dollar yen has been rising correctively on the daily chart, which means we're still looking for a bearish impulse to change our opinion, but we're not getting it. RSI is dropping correctively, which means this bullish move is still in force. We have two current lows that price would have to breach in order for me to get a bearish sentiment for dollar yen. Right now, I'm expecting this to form another continuation pattern or extend this smaller pattern and then continue bullish. Let's look at the lower time frame, the 4 hour. Okay, on the 4 hour, we had a slight impulse, correct the pattern, and once again, we had another impulse. So what should we expect? A correction, and then another move down. It is still not showing us on the daily time frame that it is bearish. On the 4 hour, we can take some of those bearish trades because price is still moving down until it gives us a reversal. We are on the 4 hour still moving bearishly. So wait for a continuation pattern to form and look for that bearish bounce or break of that pattern. And once again, it needs to break this low in order for me to start feeling bearish about this pair. Dollar Chief, on the daily chart, we have MACD divergence pushing us up. We still have more room on RSI to go up, but price still is moving correctively. So we're looking for an impulse to give us our direction. We're hoping for it to give us a nice bounce here and move up past this current high to give us a higher high and a higher low and a continuation of the bullish movement up from this bounce on the green trend line. We say weekly trend line because if that's what you want to classify, but it's not technically a weekly trend line. I go to the weekly chart or the monthly chart, and the pattern within the monthly chart will be green. If it's on the weekly time frame, so be it. But the green trend line, you can say it's a weekly pattern. And so it is at a reversal point. It has reversed on the weekly pattern, and it's currently moving bullish. So we're looking for more bullish action this week. Let's look on the 4 hour. And on the 4 hour, we see we had 1, 2, 3 waves. Now this is a fourth, and this would be a fifth if it continues down, and we'd look for a bounce in this area and a continuation of the bullish movement for the dollar Swiss. New Zealand dollar and the US dollar. Currently, New Zealand dollar is reaching a current high from a previous high. So we'll look at price action in that area to see if it bounces or breaks. Here's our most recent low. So right now, price is in between. It needs to give us a continuation pattern or a reversal pattern to show us what it's going to do. Our MACD is showing divergence, bearish divergence. So we'll wait till the pattern sets itself, or we get a reason to enter an entry trigger here to, to short this pair. Let's look at the 4 hour. 4 hour, we don't have a clear pattern, but we can see that RSI has reached 80 and is coming down from there. So if you find an entry trigger based off of your system, you can short this pair this week. But I don't have any pattern or reason to enter myself. You can call this a double top or a money trade in our system, but it did not give the confirmation candle that I would need to see the next candle. These two candles, the two bullish candles here, together without these two would make a money trade or a double top, depending on your view of the system. But the next candle, the confirmation candle, was not good enough, and so that's why I'm not in this trade. Some other of my traders might be in, but it's not good enough for me. All right, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is rising nicely. We have a current high here that is just passed over. And we have some really nice bullish candles, good bullish movement. But what we see here is MACD divergence. This lets us know that though price is moving aggressively north, eventually it is going to turn around. We don't know exactly when. We don't know exactly where, but it will. So what we're going to be looking for this week is some type of bearish signal, entry trigger, to go short on this pair based off of our daily pattern. Our daily pattern is an ascending channel which breaks down. We're looking for a bearish bounce or break of this pattern. For our time frame, once again, we're over 80 on the RSI, just waiting for price to break down. So this will be one of the hot pairs for this week, along with New Zealand dollar, because they show indications of a trade based off of a pattern first and indicators second. Those are the two things I look for: the pattern, a reversal, indications letting me know we're overbought or oversold, and we can look for a trade entry. You can trade on whatever time frame you like, but those are the things we look for. All right, I think we're done with the dollar pairs. Yeah, on to Euro Pound. Euro pairs gave some good movements over the last weeks. I missed a lot of them because I've been moving and running around, so I haven't been able to really do any trading or any analysis too much. So I'm starting to settle down, and we'll get onto it. So here are euros. We have an ascending channel setting up, and the price is already broken. We still have a little bit more room left on the RSI. We have MACD divergence. So what I'll be looking for this week is for price to form some type of continuation pattern here, a flag or something, and continue bearish. So if you missed the bounce here, just wait for a continuation pattern and then get in there. Let's look at the 4 hour. Okay, 4 hour, you can see price gives you multiple opportunities to get into trades. If you miss the early bounce, then you can look for a continuation pattern on a lower time frame. You can look for one on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever you want to use. As long as you know how to identify an impulse and a correction, you can trade. Here is a small correction. That small correction would have gotten you into this trade for currently 102 pips if you entered late, you didn't have to catch the first bounce. You can wait for the continuation pattern and then enter. But first bounce gets you 158 pips than just 100 pips. So look for the first bounce, look for your entry triggers. If you miss it, continuation pattern, is your friend. Trade the continuation pattern to catch the impulse. So as I said, this week we'll be looking for a continuation pattern and more bearish movement. Price could go back into a pattern. It could extend the pattern somehow. But right now, that's what we'll look for, and we'll adjust as we go. Euro CAD. Euro CAD did some nice moves again last week. As you can see here, we got a nice impulse, correction. Smaller impulse, correction. We have another smaller impulse, correction. As price continues to make smaller and smaller impulses, look for price to get ready to reverse. This is why I have this trend line. If we get another solid bottom, then we'll have a descending channel, which breaks up, which breaks north. So we'll see how price moves this week. We're right in the middle on our RSI. We're still pushing down on our MACD, so we still have more room to go. We still have more room to go down to this weekly trend line. So price can move all the way down to this weekly trend line or reverse beforehand. Let's see what we get. All right, on the 4 hour, you can see those moves. Price pushes up, breaks down, moves up and down, breaks down. And currently, what do you see here? We have a nice 4 hour bearish impulse. After impulse, let's change that color. Actually, it should be yellow. We have a pattern. And our patterns move in waves of 3 and 5 waves. So we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we should be expecting this week is another move up, either breaking this pattern and causing us to rethink what's going on, or bouncing at this area and continuing lower. This is the power of our wave theory and the power of our patterns. Euro yen. Euro yen on the daily chart is at a reversal point. You can see a nice bullish move here, followed by correction. Another bullish move, not as strong. Now we're getting a correction or a reversal. That is what we know to happen. Based off of our pattern, we're expecting a reversal, because our pattern here shows us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. See that expanding wedge or triangle, whatever you'd like to call it. But at this point, I would be expecting a move back down, minimum move, maybe targets this first area here, and then next the trend line, next the next low, and you continue down what you're targeting. As I said, in our system, we are taught to have multiple targets for each one of our trade triggers, trade entries. We have methods of identifying targets, and you got to have a target, got to have an entry, and got to have a stop. So right now we have a nice engulfing candle, which is only a impulse on the lower time frame, and now we have 2 little dojis here. So on a daily, we're looking at this. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a continuation pattern and more down. Let's see what it has on our 4 hour chart. Okay, 4 hour chart. There's our small pattern that's kind of identifying itself. It's not easily recognizable right now, but we'll see what it gives us and how it sets itself up during this week. So once again, we're looking for a pattern to form, and we're going to trade short the bounce or the break of the pattern. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 waves. Sometimes these waves can be a little tricky to see, but this is how I see it. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, and then I'd be looking for a 5th before price breaks down. And it's that simple. Okay, Euro and the Aussie dollar gave some good trades last week. On the daily chart, you see we have a current high we're working with and the low. Price is about to breach that low, and we have some very strong bearish candles here. So I'm not expecting price to reverse at any time. I'm expecting price to breach this low and give us a continuation pattern and more down. It could come into this formation to this type of pattern. Let me adjust this real quick. Could make something like this. It's a little raggedy, not as clean as I would like to see, but this is what is possible. And since we're at a nice point in the video, I'll show you one of my favorite tools to use in trading. And that's one tool that all my students learn to use religiously. It is our Fibonacci extension and retracement. We add a few more into it and color code it based off of certain trades and certain things we're looking for. But based off of our Fibonacci, from this high to this low, we would be looking at price to come into this area at least somewhere around the 27 to 38 extension before price would look to reverse, give us another bullish movement, and maybe extend this pattern. But the Fibonacci is one of our most used tools to predict where price is going, to predict how far price will retrace. We use it to identify hit zones. If you looked at our the hit zone trading video, our Fibonacci is the most used tool. So anytime we have any type of price movement, we can use our Fibonacci. Just to give you an example, let's say you only had this movement. You only had this bullish movement, then this retracement. So you were here and you didn't know where price was going to go. You were looking to take a trade and you want to find a target for you to take profit. Price retraced into what we call our blue zone, or you can say our base number. Okay, so if you took a trade based off the base, the 23, we has the base, we would look for a 1-to-1 extension. So color, color. If price had retraced into our blue zone, we'll look for blue zone extensions. Blue zone, blue zone. Price retraces to our green zone. Green zone extensions. Green zone. It's that simple. And I want to show you guys this. I haven't showed it in any other video except for the hit zone video. But I just wanted to show you how I use it and how our traders use it to identify take profit areas and areas of reversal if you do not have a good pattern drawn. It can show you where price should reverse. Okay, let's go to our 4-hour time frame for the Euro Aussie. As we can see, nice bearish movement here. Not likely to just reverse at any point, but we can see we are below 20, which tells me that price is going to give us a pullback very soon. Now, price forms a reversal pattern, something like this, then we'll be looking for price to actually reverse and to come back and start testing some of these highs. It's that simple. That's what everyone learns. That's what everyone learns to do. You learn to see the patterns, use the tools, trade the triggers. Okay, on to Euro New Zealand. Euro New Zealand is kind of squiggly right now. We had that crazy movement because of the New Zealand's movement, so it's not in a tight pattern. So I could draw some lines that could make kind of sense, but it doesn't look nice. And looking nice is not the point, but at the same time, you want to have a pattern that makes sense. So if we look at right now what we have a current high. Here's a high point that we can base some movement off of. If we say price comes above that high and starts to retest our trend line, then we'll look for more bullish movement. Right now we had a nice bullish candle, only one, but price is moving off of that bullish movement. It hasn't given us a new high or a new low. So let's look at our 4-hour time frame. Okay, 4-hour time frame. It kind of looks okay, but I would probably do something like this just to make it look a little tighter for us. So if we look at it like this, when we have a flat bottom, usually price tends to move in that direction. So we'd say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and if this is a fifth, this would be like the floor. And we'll look for price to continue moving north and break this high. But we'll see what price gives us. You always look for a confirmed trigger. All right, so that's what we have on the Euro New Zealand. It is not in a current trading position for us. We can say it has recently made a bounce, but it is in between areas right now. So I'm not looking to trade this until it gets to another trend line. Euro Chief, the turtle. I love this pair. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes it does what I want, and sometimes it doesn't. But I continue coming back to it. As you can see right here on the daily, we have MACD divergence. We're just bounced out of 80, coming back down. So price is coming to into an area of a recent high. So I'm expecting price to reverse soon, and it's in an ascending channel, which should break down. So for this week, price can come up, retest this high. We'll look for a bounce or a break there. If we get a bounce, we're looking for a short trade down to at least this low, and then we'll look further as price continues to move. But we have all signals for a short on the turtle. Let's look at the 4-hour. Okay, 4-hour gives us a little clearer picture. We can see here that price topped out here, and even though this price is higher, this gives us a double divergence. We have RSI divergence and a MACD divergence. You can draw a pattern here, but it's not really necessary. What you could do is just draw a trend line here to just give you an indication, kind of a signal where you're looking for price to move to. So if you're looking for price to move bearish, you draw your trend line underneath the candles, and that way if you visually if you're just scrolling through your pairs like I do a lot of times, just scrolling, if you look here and you see price is coming below this trend line, you know that now price is moving in the direction you want, which is bearish. So what we're looking for here is some type of bearish trigger entry to go short. Right now, since we don't have a clean top, you can draw something like this, but it's not really clean for me. You can draw it though and use that as a place to look for a reversal. If you use your fib, I usually don't like using the fib as much on the 4-hour, but you still can use it. But if you use your fib from this low to when price started to reverse around here, you'll see in this area right at that 1272 extension is right where that high is. So that will be a good area to look for your bounce. So that's the turtle. Okay, pound yen. On the daily, pound yen formed a ascending channel and broke, bounced off of the previous low, and is moving back to retest the high. I didn't put a high up here because the trend line is there. That would actually be a third test, a third touch of that high. This is the first, here is the second, and here would be the third, which is very powerful. And as you can see, we have MACD divergence. We're looking like we're also going to have RSI divergence on the daily, which is very powerful. So this is a pair that you'd want to put on your watch list, your pound yen. Look for a bearish entry in this area. Let's look for what's going on the 4-hour. Okay, on the 4-hour, see we had a nice bounce pin bar entry to go north, which would have given you how much on our trading? That would have given you, you'd have been up 140 or so pips based off the pin bar entry. So now price is starting to slow down. We're looking for a bounce trade here. We have a money trade setting up, possible double top. Any of those would be great trades based off of our system. But you find your trigger and look for that short entry coming up this week. So your first target should be this previous low, and then after that you'll look down for maybe some fib extensions that you can use for targets. Pound CAD. On the daily chart, we have a high here and a current low. Price is not reaching that low yet, and the nearest trend line we have is actually the monthly pattern down here. So that, if it came all the way down here, that will be a strong reversal. Where it is right now, it will be more of a weekly time frame pattern reversal, which is this descending channel. So prices just come from our 20s on RSI, so we should be looking north as this pattern breaks north. But right now, price is forming on the 4-hour as a flag pattern. Some people call it ascending channel, some people call it a flag. Reason why I differentiate an ascending channel and a flag is because I say after an impulse, if you have an ascending channel, that is a flag. If there's no impulse first and you have this same type of corrective movement, then I call that a channel, an ascending channel, just to differentiate the two. So if I hear a person saying a flag, I know it was after an impulse, which is stronger than an ascending channel, because a flag is definitely a continuation pattern from the previous flag. So we know that this price should break bearish from this pattern. So look for a bounce or a break of this pattern using one of your entry triggers. Too easy, right? Too easy. Pound Aussie. Most of your pound pairs are kind of in the same situation. They've made a flag and they're breaking down from a flag or currently setting up a flag to break down. So right here in pound Aussie, we see we have a low that is retesting now. Here's the current high. Price is setting up right now. On Friday gave you a pin bar. So we'll see if price continues to go bullish this week. So what I'd be looking for is some type of bullish entry on our lower time frames. We'll look at the 4-hour in a second. But price does still have room to get down back into the 20s on our RSI. We have our divergence here on our MACD, which is giving us nice indications of moving up. On the daily, we have an ascending channel or a flag setting up on the larger time frame. So on the larger time frame, the waves we have currently are 1, 2, 3. So this price movement now can continue and break out of this pattern, which would be 3 waves, or it can form a 4th and a 5th wave. So we have to see what price gives us. But right now, we're still looking bearish on this pair. Let's look at our 4-hour time frame. All right, 4-hour time frame, price has hit this low, and what did it do? It gave us a big bearish impulsive candle. Then it reversed right out with a bullish candle. And right now we're sitting in that limbo area. We've just come off of the 20 on RSI, so we're in that limbo, no man's land. We're looking for a continuation pattern to form. We get that continuation pattern, then we're coming back north. If not, price will extend this pattern and continue bearish. So right now, this is not a primary pair to trade this week because we don't have a clear direction. We have a descending channel with a bullish impulse and then a small little doji candle. RSI is centered in no man's land, and on our 4-hour MACD, we do have divergence. So price is more likely to go north than to go south, but it's not clear yet. So let's see what we get this week. Pound New Zealand. All right, Pound New Zealand is a little clear. On our daily, we see we had a bullish impulse, 3 nice candles. Then we have a flat. Okay, so what we're looking for is more bullish movement. More bullish movement. We've had a move down, 1 wave. Move back up, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th that extended all the way back down here. I didn't capture it like this because it just looks raggedy. This looks cleaner. So this wave should continue out of this pattern, form a continuation, and continue up on the daily time frame if you're trading the daily candles. MACD is pushing up. We don't have divergence, but it is pushing up. RSIs come from the 20s and moving up. We have a nice little pattern on our RSI. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, we do use RSI to see patterns. It helps you identify patterns just like the candles do. So there's your pattern on your RSI. And that pattern breaks north. Okay, let's look at our 4-hour. All right, 4-hour. We've had a lot of waves in here. You see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that's what I just said, right? Now it looks a lot cleaner on the 4-hour time frame. And on each one of these waves, there was an entry. From this one, here you got a pin bar. From this one, here you have a pin bar. On this side, I'm sure there's a more complicated entry if we go down to the lower time frames, but it had to be an entry. Otherwise, it wasn't a reversal. Same here. You don't see it on the 4-hour, but maybe on the 1-hour, maybe on the 15-minute. It looks like it possibly was either a double bottom or a money trade for our system here. Here on the top, you get another pin bar. Down here, a huge pin bar. So price will tell you when it's reversing, and it confirms it with a trade entry trigger. You have to have one. All right, so right now, what we're expecting is price to come out of this. It might even form a continuation pattern in here and then move out. So we're looking for a bullish movement this week. So price might move down, form a small flag on the 4-hour, and then move up. All right, Aussie pairs. All right, as you see, this little thing here is not a duckbill. It is actually a pattern that I saw on the 4-hour. So here's our current low. Okay, price would have to break that low to continue on and going bearish for me, because right now it is bearish based off the bounce here. So we had 1, 2, 3 tests of this high, and price is moving down. So this is our next low that we're looking for some type of action for. Right here was our previous low, and as you can see, we got this nice continuation pattern that formed right here on the daily chart. So we had a small impulse, continuation pattern. So let's look at it on the 4-hour so you can see why I have the little quacker drawn. Okay, so here we had a movement, bullish movement, bearish move, bullish, bearish, bullish, big bearish, corrective, bullish. So we're expecting what? Exactly, we're expecting another impulse to come down, bearish impulse. And as you can see, we have MACD divergence. Sorry, we have RSI divergence. MACD, we don't have divergence. So we have what we call mixed signal, mixed indications. Okay, so based off of mixed indications, just off of these 2 points, okay, these 2 points give us mixed indications. So when you have mixed indications, it makes you trade a little more cautiously. You definitely want to have your trade entry trigger confirmed before you enter that trade, because otherwise it can reverse on you. And especially if you're not using a good system that shows you where to place good stops and good targets, you could lose a lot of your account. So right now, we have this big bearish impulse. We have this consolidation, and we had a small impulse. So this is not big enough for us to have entered the trade, at least under my system. So even though we had a divergent possibility, the second confirmation candle was not good enough to enter. So let's look for a bearish bounce or break this week in the Aussie CAD. Aussie Chief. I almost love this pair just as much as the turtle because it gives such clean, pretty entries. Look, this nice flag and that bullish movement out of it. Now we're getting some RSI divergence, not MACD divergence again, but we're testing a high, and there's a current high, another current high here. So let's see what type of movement we get from it at these high points. On the 4-hour, we can see that price has halted and just didn't blow through it. We're over 80 here on our RSI, so we're looking for price to come down some point. So the 2 possibilities we can get here, or 3 actually. Price can continue to blow through. Price can form a continuation pattern and blow through, or price can reverse. So those are our options. Let's see what price gives us. It's nothing clean yet because we don't have a pattern to draw our assessment off of. So we'll see what Aussie Chief gives us. Okay, Aussie Yen, kind of the same situation, except for on the lower time frame, we actually have a ascending channel that is forming, and we have a top that we can look at. That once again, that's the current high. I just went ahead and drew the trend line, the green trend line there, just horizontally, just to let me know that that is a top there. Price broke out of this pattern and continued up. On our 4-hour, price is in an ascending channel. So we have 2 tops, 2 bottoms, and another connected top here. We also have MACD divergence. We are over 80 on the RSI, and we have RSI divergence, if you want to call it, but it's still over. So over 80. So we're looking for price to bounce somewhere in this area. If I can move this around, we're looking for a bounce in this area. And here is a good thing to look at here. When we have two intersecting trend lines, that's a very powerful area. That will be considered a hit zone. That's what we would call a hit zone. If you use some other type of indicators or tools to confirm that area, let's just say we used, let's use our fib from this low to this current area where it decided to start reversing right here. Okay, so where does that give us? Right here on that trend line. Let's zoom in on it so you can see. Right on this trend line is the 681 extension. Exactly on it. And I didn't pre-record this or pre-set this up. This is just how our tools work, and this is just how we work in our system. That is a hit zone area. So we're looking for a bounce this week. Look for your short bounce or break of this pattern from the Aussie yen. All right, Aussie New Zealand. Aussie New Zealand is coming off of a bounce on this current trend line here. See, we had 1, 2, and a third touch, and it has bounced up. It is almost into the 80s here on RSI, so it should be turning around pretty soon. We don't know exactly where, but it should be turning around. So look for a bounce, bearish bounce, or a break of this pattern. But this week, we'll be looking for that move back down. Let's see what it's showing us on the 4 hour. All right, 4 hour. We had a nice bullish impulse followed by a corrective pattern. Continuation pattern, sorry. Another impulse. Price has now reached the peak. We have RSI divergence, MACD divergence. Great spot right here to look for a short entry. So this week, look for your short entry. Look for price to move down from this area. Okay, your first target should be that low. You can use this low if you like, but I would use this low. And then your next target would be the lower trend line here. So great setup right now for a short trade on Aussie New Zealand. Okay, New Zealand yen. Okay, New Zealand yen, one of my favorite pairs. I actually had one of my best trades ever on this pair. It was based off of this peak. I drew a trend line that was crossing and connecting from this area of consolidation. I saw this second area of consolidation. So when price came up into the same area, I was looking for that reversal. And sure enough, I got an entry on a lower time frame. My stop loss was in a good area. I'm not going to go into that because I can't show you what we do. So when price pushed down, I went into profit. Price retraced but didn't kick me out. Price continued to move way down here. We took profits off and re-entered the trade multiple times going down. Once price gave us a low and then a new high and a higher low, we started to get out of this trade. And so we got out of the trade around this area and looked to re-enter long. We didn't have a really good entry because, once again, it didn't give us a good pattern, but eventually we got a couple of trades back north. And right now, price is setting up again for another short setup. So this is on the daily. Our 4 hour. There's a theme on all of the yen pairs right now are setting up for a move down. Okay, so we have our divergence. We have our MACD. Bearish divergence. Just had a nice bounce below the 20. Came up, touched the 80. So right now, Price can possibly move up and retest again, but we're looking for the break here. Once price breaks below, let's get the low set up. Once price gets below here on the 4 hour, we are rolling, and we're looking to ride this puppy all the way back down, at least into this area. So that's the plan. As you can see on the daily, you still got that divergence. So it's set up for you. This is very easy setup for our system, very easy setup for our traders. So you should be ready for this when it happens. Okay, New Zealand CAD. New Zealand CAD's kind of squirrely formation here. It almost looks similar to the yen, where we had that double peak. Also gave us another test here, and now we're getting a third test, followed by a nice continuation pattern, then a nice bearish impulse after. Price is now at a reversal point. So when price is at a reversal point, we look for reversals. So let's go to our 4 hour. All right, we're looking like we are divergent on our MACD. We had a nice bounce here. Price is in a kind of a weird looking setup here, but let's just connect the dots and see how it looks. All right, so we have a top, a top, a top, a top. Here we have a decent little bottom, and sorry about that. That's my trading MT4 kicking in. So what we're looking for right now, price is on the rise. We're looking for price to continue north. I wouldn't look to do anything with this pair until price breaks, till it breaks this trend line. All right, let's go to our next pair. And New Zealand Chief, another squirrely looking pair. We got a nice bullish bounce. Price is in a continuation pattern right now. It is divergent, so I'm looking for a type of pattern that probably move back down into this area and form something like, let's see if I can draw it for you. We'll look for something like this to form this type of flag type pattern. So that's what I'll be looking to form on this New Zealand Chief, and then eventually it will break north and come retest this top trend line here. All right, last pair, the dollar and the peso. I've been watching this since Trump started saying he was going to build the wall. So price has broken what was, let me show you, the monthly trend line here, which was holding tight for a long time. Excuse me. So this monthly trend line was broken. So now price is continuously moving down. The peso is strengthening. On the monthly, we're almost at the 20, so it's almost at a point to reverse. So this is the current low that on the monthly chart. So if we look on the weekly, we still have a little bit more room to get down. And finally on the daily, where we're really looking at, we see nice patterns that we could have entered short on this pair. Right now it's in a nice bearish impulse. It's almost at the point where it's going to reverse, so we're looking for a reversal area somewhere around here. So let's see, once price gets into this area, we'll be looking for a bullish movement at that point. We have MACD divergence on the daily. Okay, so MACD divergence. Let's look at our 4 hour. Okay, on our 4 hour, you could draw this as a descending channel. If you connect the dots, something like that. Could be a descending channel, which could reach into that hit zone where I just drew. Okay, so overall, we're looking for a dollar to get stronger, peso to start moving north, as it is past the 20 here. So that's our outlook for this week. I wanted to show you a little bit more so you can see a little bit more of how our system works, how we use the colored trend lines, the tools that we use, the indications, the patterns, and so you have a better idea of the Wave Rider trading system. If you have any questions, comments, you made any money, you lost any money, let me know. Just send me a comment. Show me where you entered, what you put for a stop, a take profit, and I'll help you. I'm not all about money. I'm a teacher by nature, and I want everybody to succeed. So I'll talk to you next time.